Welcome to the Leadership in Law podcast with host Marilyn Jenkins. Cut through the noise, get actionable insights and inspiring stories delivered straight to your ears. Your ultimate podcast for navigating the ever-changing world of law firm ownership. In each episode, we dive deep into the critical topics that matter most to you, from unlocking explosive growth to building a thriving team. We connect you with successful firm leaders and industry experts who share their proven strategies and hard-won wisdom. So, whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting your journey as a law firm owner, the Leadership in Law podcast is here to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to build a successful and fulfilling legal practice.
Welcome to another episode of the Leadership in Law podcast. I'm your host, Marilyn Jenkins. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Adam Rossen, to the show today. Adam, the visionary at Rossen Law Firm, is a dedicated advocate for justice and community empowerment in South Florida. A former prosecutor turned defense attorney, he blends legal expertise with a passion for mentorship, philanthropy, and reform. Through charitable initiatives, youth coaching, and outreach programs, Adam fosters trust and connection. Since establishing specialized programs and educational initiatives, his commitment to making a difference extends beyond the courtroom, ensuring individuals receive both strong advocacy and compassionate support. I'm excited to have you here, Adam. Welcome.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you. I know we've been trying to get this done for a few months. I think it was mostly my scheduling, so I'm glad to be here and we can have a great talk.
Hey, I'm excited about the conversation. Let's start real quick with your leadership journey. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, certainly I learned about it all through undergrad and the law school. Actually, I didn't. So there are no, really, at least that I know of, any classes that are available at a great school like University of Florida or University of Miami. Well, I went down those things, leadership and law. Really, I was left to figure it out, and I'm still figuring it out. It's still my journey. So for me, it really just started from team sports. I was a pretty good basketball player growing up, pretty good high school player, but I was at some point your journey ends for that. And it was really for me at high school was, do I chase the dream and try to go to a very small school somewhere in the Midwest and pay my way through everything? Or do I go to UF and be a kid and have fun? And so I chose that. But there was a big gap missing when I was in law school, and that was the team sports and the coaching. And I always knew I wanted to be a coach. So at 23 years old, I worked my way and figured it out and hustled into being the head junior varsity basketball coach at my old high school. And so that's really when I first real taste of like real leadership at 23, being in charge of 15-year-olds and trying to run it like a program. And in law, like we're so programmed of either winning or losing, and same with sports. But really, I've learned it's about the journey, and some of my greatest improvements have been because of mistakes that I've made over and over again, different mistakes, and learning from them and talking about them. Just like in sports, when you lose, or in law, in a trial, right? You don't want to lose a trial, but when you lose, you learn a lot more from that loss than you do from the win. And so it's been a continual journey. I coached high school basketball for 10 years. I don't coach high school anymore because I'm so busy, but I still coach in the Maccabi games, which is like the Jewish Olympics. And I do that every year. And it requires much less time investment for me, but it's still so fun. And just on this law firm journey of mine as well, being in masterminds and coaching groups, I've invested multiple six figures over the years to really get these advanced degrees and these continual degrees, leadership, learning, all the different things, marketing, management, just everything, and trying to be a better person and better a leader and enjoy the journey while I'm doing it.
I love that. Yeah, sports will certainly do a lot for you when it comes to leadership there and coaching. That's incredible. What I want to dive into is, I'm excited to have this talk, is about your new AI intake. So AI has been something that people are talking a lot about, and a lot of people don't understand or they don't envision how they could use it. And I do know that even the Better Business Bureau says 67% of inbound calls to small businesses go unanswered. How can we improve that?
Few things. So first of all, our goal is by this time next year, right, middle to end of next year, we want to be AI native. We want to have AI in every single aspect of the firm, but not just in it, but leading every single aspect for it. We're primarily 95% of what we do, or 99% of what we do really is flat fee billing. So it just makes sense from an operational standard and from a scaling standard. And it actually makes sense from a customer service and client happiness standard, but most lawyers don't think in that way. They think AI is, again, anything when done right. We can go back a little bit, but one of the big, I mean, we're doing a few different AI initiatives, but right now the big AI initiative is voice AI. And it's funny. I go to these big conferences with 8-figure B2C law firms, and we're multi 7 figures trying to get to 8 figures right now in exclusively criminal defense. The people that aren't at that level look at sales as a bad thing. They put as little money and as little training and as little time behind the sales. And then you get to a little bit of a higher kind of understanding and you say, marketing is very important, and you start putting money into marketing. But then it's very easy to go, it's not working, or we're getting lower quality leads that aren't signing up without examining the counterpart, primarily the counterpart to it, which is intake and sales. But lawyers, some of these words are bad words to them, but they're not bad words. They're not supposed to be. But a lot of times people don't realize they don't have a marketing problem, they have a sales problem. And nobody taught me this except these groups and things that I've had to learn over the years. So we put so much time and effort into our sales, and I'm part of an exclusive invitation group of 10 of the biggest criminal defense law firms across the country. And we brought in a sales guru a few months ago. And the funny thing is I looked and I said, maybe revenue wise, I was maybe like 7th out of 10. Everybody bigger than me had a non-attorney sales team. Everybody smaller than me had attorney-led sales, including myself. So we've made that move and that switch, and we think it's about a 6-month process. We're about 3 months into the 6-month process. And then we're also combining that with AI. So before I jumped in, I wanted to give some people some of the background of what we're doing and how we're doing this. And a lot of us have answering services. We have a pretty good amount of volume. We mix volume with high earned fees for my firm. And in my firm, we get calls all middle of the night. I don't require my lawyers to sleep with their phone on loud. Really good for our lawyers, for their mental health and ability to defend people. We have answering services, but it's not easy as personal injury where you just sign the contract. The contracts are the same. We have to do real sales, real bonding with clients. And answering service, just none of them can do that. And whether it's 2 a.m. or whether it's overflow. And they're getting more expensive and the quality's getting worse and worse, especially since COVID. It is. So we've been testing. We tested 20 different voice AI companies, and there's layers to it. So the first the layer is, replacing our answering service and overflow. And we found one, it's called Meet Gabby. They're not a newish company of 3-4 months. They've been around almost 2 years, and the quality was fantastic for Meet Gabby. And we, like I said, are tested in and out of the legal industry. And they replaced our answering service with that. And the great thing is it's better. And lawyers are very skeptical, Marilyn, as you. Lawyers are distrusting, lawyers are skeptical. And a lot of what we hear is it's going to be a bad client experience. What I say to you is, have you listened to your calls? At every conference I go to, they always talk about that, and they'll put a call or two up for everybody to listen to. And those are disastrous, but sometimes you're at the conference, you go, oh, that's not me. It is you. It's me too. It's all of us. Listen, and you don't know what you don't know. And most people don't know that they're bleeding multiple 6 figures from either their current human intake or their answering service. Because again, ignorance is bliss, and you just don't know. And when we really dove deep and listened, we're like, oh my God. And AI doesn't have a bad day, right? AI is not going through a divorce. AI is not sick. AI, when you need to go from 2 intake to 5 intake, you don't, with AI, especially the good ones, you don't need to find 3 new employees and hire, fire, train, and manage. I mean, you got to train it, okay, of course, and continually you want to update and train it, and I do that. But scaling with AI is so much easier. And so for all of
Mhm.
those reasons, that's why we're really going into it. And it's been great so far. We've replaced our chatbot on our website with it. And we're doing interactive video avatars and regular chat. And we're doing the overflow and nights and weekends. And then the goal is after that, we want to we're changing our entire intake team to a non-attorney sales team. And then
Okay.
instead of hiring new intake people, and instead of offshoring it, we're using Meet Gabby to fill that need as well. And when I ran the numbers based on my firm, between savings and even just one extra case a month that we're able to close because of it, at let's say an average case fee of 7,500, we're almost at a $300,000 swing between savings and
Wow.
new profit coming in, just that alone. Now we're doing a lot of marketing, we're doing a lot of scaling as well. So, that is exponential. So there's so much into it. And I can keep going, right? Depending on what you want to dive deep into about it. And there's also more to it than just voice. There's been follow-up calls. There's so many different things, client core updates. And what we found is that ultimately the clients just want their questions answered. They want it solved. And the reason most people don't chatbots or certain things is because they suck. They're terrible.
Yeah.
But the good ones and the ones that solve people's problems are great, right? And people hate phone trees because they suck, right? But if there was an
True.
easy, fast, efficient phone tree, then they wouldn't care, right? They just want their problems solved, their questions answered. That's all that they want. And so as long as the quality is good, and still some of it is on, I think, the firm to maintain quality
Mhm.
control. You got to partner with a company that's good. And then you got to maintain trust and verify, like actually maintain that quality control. And once you do, the world's moving so fast with this that within a year or two, it's going to be extremely commonplace. But we always want to get ahead of the curve.
True. So one of the things that people are worried about is, oh, I can tell that's AI because there's no empathy in the voice or whatever. I have tested some that were for, say, med spas and that sort of thing. And they are incredible how they come up with the added conversation that makes it sound natural. Maybe you could tell there's a little mechanicalness to the voice, but not really.
Right.
They are getting so good. Or so in your training of it. So say I wanted to use one and I'd go to Meet Gabby, they would assign me a agent, I'm assuming, and then I train it on what I want it to say and the tone that I want to use. Is that
Yep.
kind of the right?
Absolutely. And what they've done is they made it very easy for us. So there's a few other companies that are non-legal. Wouldn't write, and when in evaluating it initially, I thought, oh, non-legal, that's going to be better. But then looking at it and going, geez, wait a minute, I have to do all of the legwork and build it from scratch. And my time is worth a lot of money. My team's time is worth a lot of money. So then when we tested some others, and especially me, Gabby, they had a lot of pre-built stuff where it's 70, 80, 90% of the way there. And you can choose, do you want somebody from the deep South? Do you want somebody more from New York? Do you want somebody who's empathetic or somebody who's going to be, right? Just differences, English versus Spanish. What about Portuguese? What about South Florida, Jamaican, Patois, Haitian Creole?
Right.
We have Russian. South Florida is a true melting pot. And being able to switch on the fly, which is really cool. And we're going to be starting to use it with some of our Spanish. If a non-Spanish speaking lawyer has to have a call with one of our clients, yes, we have Spanish speaking staff, but what if they're busy? But we're going to test it and try the AI and see if and it's not a matter of can they tell, it's a matter of do they care because
Yeah.
it's a worse client experience, not because they just care because it's AI. Is it a worse
Right.
client experience? And by and large, we believe it's not going to be, because you know what? My Spanish speaking legal assistant is probably busy right now wanting to do work and might not want to stop the work to then have the client call. Or again, maybe she's having a bad day.
Right.
So we're looking at all those things. I believe it's a lot more consistent and reliable when you use it in that manner. And so it's been very good. And look, the med spas are a great example because I heard that they're using them. And again, that empathy and that high level of customer service is really good.
Very touchy, everything. Yeah, they'd be
They're
so good about asking questions, good job, being very congratulatory. I'm glad this will be worth great. And it was so good at booking an appointment, encouraging, and then the follow-up call to confirm and make the appointment reminders is the word I'm looking for.
Right.
But they are so good now. It's ridiculous.
Right. And I'm sure those med spas can then take that increased profit and put it back into other things. Right. And so when you look at it, law firms can take that increased profit and put it back into marketing and continue that cycle. And then as the firm grows, guess what? It's now an easier way to maybe hire higher end legal talent or pay your lawyers and your team more. So there's so many benefits, especially when you can get any kind of tech product like this that is scalable and leads to a higher level of profit. Because as all the business owners know, more profit most of the time does not mean more money for the lawyer. It's only percentages, because most of the profit gets put back in especially if you're in growth mode, for continued growth.
And when you can get an AI agent that can be multiplied without having to pay a salary and benefits and vacation and everything for, like you said, an individual that may have a bad day and you're not taking good. I had a client not too long ago that did audit their calls of their intake person, and their kind of nice response was, they're not doing us any favors. And I think if you do audit some of your intake calls, you'll find that, because I don't care who you are, you're going to have a bad day from time to time. And how many cases is that costing you?
Absolutely. And ignorance is bliss until you actually do your due diligence, and then you become awakened and you go, oh my God, how much is leaking out of this bucket? Right.
Yeah. So what kind of time frame is it to get one up to speed that you start testing with it?
We wanted to go slow. I didn't want to make the wrong choice. And there's a lot of, this is a very emerging field, and not just that, but the voice technology as well. So again, we tested about 20 different companies myself and went through all the different demos and everything. And really we took a few months to do our due diligence, and it coincided perfectly with the entire revamp of our intake and sales team. For us, once we chose me, Gabby, it was simple. It was easy. It was pretty seamless. They have a new version that we're on, 3.0, and it was much easier. Now for us, it was a little more complex because our phone system is Amazon AWS. We don't run on like Zurich Central or Dialpad or one of those. And AWS, it's a VoIP, but it's a much more enterprise level VoIP. And so it's just a little more customizable, which on one hand makes it a little harder to operate, but on the other hand, I could use it when we become a $50 million law firm. We'll never outgrow AWS. And we also use Salesforce with our CRM for the exact same reason. So we were with My Case, and we left My Case about 3-4 years ago. It was great where we were when we grew to about 10 employees. But then we started to see some pain points for us with My Case, and Clio wasn't an option. And some of those others some of the other ones are a little more PI focused, like Smart Advocate. Right. For criminal defense, it was either just have a basic thing or go to Salesforce. And I didn't want to have an intermediary step when we're at $2 million in revenue, 25 employees, which is where we're at now, and then get to 10 million, right? And go, oh my God, we got to switch it here. So because I like tech, we just said, you know what, we're going to go on something that we'll never be able to grow out of, that is fully customizable, and we're going to do it. And we're going to go all in that way. So because of those things, it just took a little bit longer with the APIs, because it wasn't just click a button and boom, it talks to My Case. But that's okay. Their team was great with us, and it worked out really well. And with everything, again, with those systems, AWS and Salesforce, they're built for this. It's just because it's a little more complex, it just means it's a little bit longer days instead of just clicking a few buttons and you're up and running on Clio, Smart Advocate, My Case, whatever.
The nice thing is each one of those platforms has a tech team that can help you. You are a subscriber, you're a customer. So basically Meet Abby's catching all your inbound calls. Is it do you have the potential to make calls for you?
So it does.
Like the follow-up calls and nurturing?
Yes. But even before that, we're building it where it's taking them and then routing them, and it's popping up in Salesforce as the client. And then if it's a current client, it's routing it to the case managers. And if it's not in Salesforce, then it's going to go as a new potential client to the sales team and do an intake and then ask the questions and then move it to the sales. So it's doing that too, which I think is really cool because we for years had reception and then intake as overflow handle current clients calling. And then it's, why am I talking to your intake person? And then you're trying to get me in touch with the case manager. And then guess what? The intake person is triaging that. So they miss the new PNC that's calling, right? The new potential new client. And we're like, geez. So it's solving all that too, to go another layer deep. But for the outbound, we haven't done it yet. And I'm doing this rollout in phases because I wanted to be slow and methodical. So the goal is for the chase or the follow-up sequences. We have automated sequences with emails and texts, but yes, it will be able to do outbound calling as well. So a lot of the time that our intake people are spent calling and following up, Gabby's going to be able to do that as well. And we want to build a gas call program, which stands for give a shit. And basically we're just outbound calling current and former clients to let them know that we care about them and to see how they're doing and just customer service. And we're going to build that in as well. Haven't done that yet, but that's the next level in phase that it can do those outbound calls.
And just those things can take up a tremendous amount of time. So
Yeah.
I love them. You're saving a lot of time and you're giving even better customer service. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
If you have 1,500, let's just say 1,000 to 2,000 former clients from the last, 5 years or whatever, depending on your area, even 500, to call and have a meaningful conversation with them in a year. If you have somebody calling, right, and having maybe because how many meaningful conversations you're going to call, you're going to miss each other. But an employee that does that, maybe doing 10 outbound calls a day, former clients, and maybe in a day can get 4 done. Right. And let's say there's 22 working days in a month. So 4 times 22 is 88. And then 12 months. So it's just 100. That's 1,200 a year. And let's just say we round it up. 1,000 and 1,200 a year. That could be everybody. That could be nowhere near your list. And you're paying a human being to do that. That's probably 75% of their debt when you truly know how much inefficiencies there are with human beings. Right. So now that's still going to be a net positive, right? ROI, but imagine what happens when that's handled by a bot, by chat, right? By AI.
No, I agree. Because what you're doing is you're like constantly doing database reactivation. People say I'm growing by word of mouth. Only if somebody else's mouths move, right? And they're recommending you. But what if you had someone inside your agent to start making those calls, touch base? So you have, like you said, have that meaningful conversation. You never know. There's so much money in your database. People that already used you are more likely to use you again. Absolutely.
Yeah. For the firms that, like us for years, that send out email newsletters and print newsletters. I'm still a member of Great Legal Marketing. Ben Glass, one of my very first mentors, and he was so big from the Dan Kennedy world of mailed monthly newsletters, old school, because it still works. And we do that. And we do emailed weekly newsletters. And that's better than nothing. And most people do nothing. That's a B. That's a B. But then having a gas call program, right, is an A. And really going through that. And there's so much money in your list that we're missing out on because everybody listening to this at some point in their life has had something handled for them by a service-based professional, a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or something else who did a good job, who then they cannot remember their name. And if they can't remember their name, they can't refer. And they're not going to go out of their way to refer or become an evangelist for the person. And that's the business owner's job, to continue to nurture that list, because you know what? And how crazy is it? In criminal defense, we can save people's lives, change people's lives. And then you're saying 4 years from now, they don't remember who it was. But yeah, and that's why we got to keep touching them. We got to keep stay in touch all the time. And social media is a component, of course, as well with that. Yeah.
Yeah. If someone has a need and they've used a divorce attorney in the past and somebody wants a divorce attorney, they're not, if it's been 4, 5, 10 years, they're not going to remember, not on the top of their head to refer them. So I like the idea of use that technology to keep in touch with your list, and even calls to action. How can you help? Is there any issues you need help with? Yeah, those kinds of things. I love that. So what would be your advice for a starting point for anyone that's out there thinking about bringing an AI agent in for either capturing their calls, their gas program, any of that? What would you'd say is the first step?
So it's funny. My answer today is completely different than what it would be 2, 3 years ago. 2, 3 years ago, I would have given a very tactical response, right? Which might be just start evaluating different AI companies and move forward, right? But now, and I've learned, and especially I've learned this with some of our digital marketing, with the Google algorithm updates and different things. I say, take a step even further back and say, and decide what strategy you want. Because strategy and tactics are two different things. And I built our firm over going to different conferences for a few reasons, for a few different ways, but going to different conferences, hearing the new tactic of the day or the hot tactic of the year,
The shiny
coming home
object.
but implementing it and having success. And then
Okay.
2, 3, 5 years later, looking back and going, this was not part of a comprehensive strategy. So it's a bunch of hodgepodge things that got us quick wins. But now, one or two things change, and we actually had no real overarching strategy. So the first thing I would say is take an even further step back and develop the strategy. What do I want to use? Why do I want to use it? How are we going to use it? And which vendors, and how does this fit in other aspects of the firm? What are our goals? Instead of just, oh yeah, I can tweak this, do this, and I can make more money or get more cases, because that's not a strategy, that's a tactic. Once you have that strategy, so for example, for us, by the end of next year, we want to be an AI native firm, as I was saying, and that's AI native in all aspects of the firm, not just voice, not just intake and sales. And so what we've done with this is part of a broader strategy. And then within that, then there's the firm strategy, and how all of the individual, how's some of the AI legal strategy going to be, and how's that going to fit with sales and marketing, and how's that going to, and within sales, or within even the sales and marketing piece, there's the before unit. How can we continue to market and sell in the during unit, which is the case production unit? And then how can we continue to market and sell to them in the after unit, right? And all those things. So there's multiple layers of strategy. And once you come up with that and really be deliberate, then you can move to the tactics. That's the best way to do it. And then to go a little more granular within the tactics, again, test. You have to test, you have to ask questions. You have to learn, right? How is this company funded? What are the company's goals? Are they inside or outside of legal? Is it something that's just slapped on to, is it that there's maybe a bigger company that just said, oh, voice AI is hot, so we're just going to make some basic stuff and slap it on and charge an upgrade, right? And that's what when you see most existing legacy software companies, hey, now we have AI. Wait, you've just thrown on an LLM model there. It's very basic, basically an LLM search. And you're going to try and significantly upcharge and call it AI. It is AI, but it's not really native built. But you don't know what you don't know. So try to do some research, learn about it, figure it out, and test, trust and verify. You have to test. But also have an open mind. So many lawyers don't. They try to over lawyer everything. And I feel like lawyers will over lawyer the new, but they won't over lawyer their existing. So when they're looking for something new like AI, they're gonna think about the 2% of cases, right, where it's going to be nearly impossible or extremely difficult for an AI to handle it. But then they're not considering that same 2%, and this is also just general system building in the firm, right? That it's the 80-20 rule, right? You really want to capture that 80% in your systems. And if you're trying to be so micro granular for that 2%, you're never going to get your systems built. It's the exact same thing with testing this. But then for those lawyers, it's very easy to ignore that 2% that your current intake team is screwing up. right? But of course, you can think about
Right.
all the ways that AI will screw. So again, don't over lawyer it. Go on an 80-20 principle and then iterate as you go. We didn't just open the floodgates with it. We have a plan, a
Mhm.
3-part plan. And right now we're pretty much done with part 1. We're in the middle of part 2. And I'll tell you when we're all done with the outbound and all that stuff, but we're not there yet. But I didn't just go in and say, boom, day 1, all 3 parts are happening, because then a lot more things will break.
Yes. I like that. I love going in with a strategy because there's so many places. If you look at your business, there's so many places that can be improved as it is. What if you can save money and improve and grow profits at the same time? That's really bottom line. You help people because that's your business. You increase profits and you improve the bottom line. Love that.
Let's say, and I know the old school Better Call Sauls of the world are in criminal defense, the true cowboys or amazing lawyers, but who don't really care about business, they're not listening to this podcast. But if they
Right.
were, and they said, Adam, I don't want to scale, I don't want to grow, and say, that's totally fine. That's your journey and your decisions. But do you want to at least explore a better client service? And the answer in that, I would surely hope it would be yes. And then there's tons of tech, including AI, where you can still use, not with the design to really scale and 10x your firm, but just to give better client service, right? Even if
I
that's
love
all
that.
you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. Even if I just want a lifestyle practice and I'm happy with that, but doing better can still, in that point, you're improving customer service. You're going to improve profits because you're going to get more referrals and you're going to get more cases that way.
Right? And you're going to
I
do
love that.
better. And even the people who still think I am, right, I'm in servitude to my clients above all, look at it this way. You're going to be in better servitude to your client above all, just by implementing a few little new tech things. So even for the people who don't even care about more profits, right? Because I know there's a few old school people out there.
Yeah.
It's going to be better for the client anyway. It will.
Sounds like a no-brainer, at least to
Yeah.
start a strategy, looking at it. The AI is advancing so quickly and the voice has gotten so good so quickly. I agree. It's definitely worth a consideration and look at the strategy and do some research. See if you
Yeah.
can benefit your firm.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh,
This has been absolutely great. I love the process. I love how deliberate you've been and how the wins you're seeing from it. I know my listeners may want to connect with you and ask you a few more questions. Where would be the best place to do that?
yeah, sure. So the best place is LinkedIn. It's so funny.
Okay.
2 years ago, I didn't really care about LinkedIn, and people are knowing me there. And so now LinkedIn's kind of is, I'd say, in the middle of a major renaissance. And so I'm active on LinkedIn. I'm getting my followers and connections. I'm posting a lot more. We're on the firm we're on Instagram, obviously our website, on YouTube. We have a very big presence on YouTube for educational based videos and fun videos. But really, if you want to connect directly with me, less than just about seeing what me and the firm are up to, then LinkedIn is the place to go. Just Adam Rossen on LinkedIn. I'm there. And yeah, I'd
I'll make
love
sure
to
that
chat.
we have a link to that.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I've got your LinkedIn link that's going to be in the show notes, as well as your website and your Instagram and your X account so people can reach you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Look, I've been so fortunate to have so many mentors especially the last 10 years of my 20 years in law. Anybody I can talk to, about once a week, somebody's reaching out on LinkedIn now to say, hey, I'm in law school, or I'm at the PD or the state attorney, or I'm in PI and I want to leave. What advice do you have? Hit me up. I want to talk. I want to help. I'm so grateful to everybody in the legal industry that really puts out great energy. And I want to give back and do the same.
I think that's one of the best things about the legal industry is that it is so full of mentors, and it's just a great society to be a part of.
It
So
is.
thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. This has been a great conversation. I'm really excited to have had you here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Marilyn. Anytime.
Thanks for joining me today for this episode. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to do two things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to discover this podcast. Second, you can connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm currently learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take the next step with a digital strategist to help you grow your law firm, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to lawmarketingzone.com to book a call with me. Stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, thanks for listening to Leadership in Law Podcast, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Leadership in Law Podcast. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of law firm owners out there facing similar challenges and striving for the same success. Head over to our website at lawmarketingzone.com. From there, connect with other listeners, access valuable resources, and stay up to date on the latest episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, keep leading with vision and keep growing your firm.